Now, as I mentioned, one of the biggest problems we have with trees or plants is managing the polygon count. And if you're not familiar with what polygon count is, polygon count for trees and plants, or for anything actually, are in essence, they look like a triangle. They're basically three or more sides that create uh, a form by bringing together these three-dimensional points. And so this is exactly, we take a look at the sphere here, right? The sphere is made up by polygons that have been put together to create that. If we look at the trees here, we look at the leaves from afar might not look like, these polygons, but from when we get close, we can see that they are just a collection of polygons. And trees are the most intensive, and plants are the most intensive of polygon use because you're trying to represent leaves. And while these are nothing more than just really squares, rectangles that are kind of folded, when we look at trees that are more realistic, the leaves start to become much more representative of real leaves, which become extremely intense polygon usage. So be aware of that. This is another good example. This is human face. You can see where, when we have less polygon counts over here, it's not as detailed. As it gets more detailed, basically we have more intense use of polygons to really represent the detail of this face. And that's the same thing with trees and plants. There's some trees you can download and some plants you can download that will look like this, which are much less polygon count usage and therefore more easier for Archicad to calculate. There are others that you'll download and they'll look very powerful, or very good, and I'll show you that in a second, and they have a lot more realism to them. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the 3D warehouse is a great place to go and find objects that are specific to what, or they have different types of plants and stuff that you can download. But Turbo Squid is another option that you can use. Turbo Squid has a number of different objects that you can download that are plants and trees and so forth. Some are free. Some will cost you money for each individual one you download. And then they also have different libraries like Archimodels and Frog, I think it's called. This one's called Frog, actually, is a XFrog, is a really popular one for plants and objects. They have a lot of really good, very nicely done plants and objects, but again, you have to watch the polygon counts on those. And this is another one, free3d.com, for not only trees and plants, but you can download a number of different types of objects here. But as you can see, I can download any number of different objects and then be able to use those in Archicad. Now, as I mentioned, some of these can be high polygon counts. Take a look at these two. These are from Turbo Squid. This one over here is 452,000 polygons. This one right here, which looks really nicely detailed, right? I mean, leaves look like real leaves in here. This one is 974,000 polygons. So you really have to pay attention to these objects when you download them and decide if it's going to be appropriate for you to use in Archicad. Now you can do a couple of things to help manage this. One is you can download and install from the Goodies Suite. If you don't know what the Goodies Suite is, simply go to this address right here, and it'll take you to this page where you can click Download Goodies. And when you download it, it's going to download a bunch of different options, including 3D Studio In, accessories, check duplicates tool, construction simulation, interior wizard, intersection and layer combinations, mesh to roof tool, and finally polygon counting tool. So if you want to find out how big, like your model's really large, you want to find out how many polygons your model is using, you can download this tool and you can basically do a polygon count of your project. So it'll put it into your, if you go to the window menu, go to palettes, you'll see a new option here called polygon count. When I open it up, it's going to show me, how many polygons are in my project, how many polygons are used by objects, by lamps, etc. And you can kind of get a good overview of your project and what it's using. If you have, for example, objects and that are using an extreme amount, you can kind of focus on that. You can even dial in this to get more detail in terms of like what objects are the largest. You can open up this little arrow here. You'll be able to view the objects and see which one has the largest polygon count. Now, one of the things it does have here is this ability to change the detail level of objects. I will tell you that I tried this, at least in 22, did not seem to be making much of a difference with some of the objects I brought in. So I'm not sure to what level this works in terms of changing that detail level. I was hoping that might be a way that you could control changing some of these. But it does not seem to work really well, but this does work well, and this is really the most important thing, to get an overview of a project and be able to dial into which objects have the largest polygon counts. Now, if you really want to control your polygons in a project for individual objects, ModelPort is your best bet to do this. With ModelPort, you can basically bring in an object such as this chair here. This chair is over 100,000 polygons, 106,000. And then you can use a polygon count reduction tool inside ModelPort to reduce these polygons. So one of the things that it will do is it will allow you to see the number of polygons. You can see here where it says 106,000 right here. Okay, so it gives you a bar graph first off that shows that this object, is definitely, excessive. So it's showing it, if it's in the green, or kind of light green, that means that polygon count is very low. If it starts to show orange or red, that means your polygon count of that object is really high. And then it will show you exactly how many polygons this object has. And then what you can do is you can actually reduce it using what are called decimation steps. And so decimation steps allow me to take the object, and then I can go down the polygon count operations. I can change it to poly reduced. At that point, I can click on these decimation steps up or down. You see right now, just without doing anything, it's already reduced it 60% down to 41,000 polygons. That's pretty good. If I click down one more step up, I can go down up to 65,000 polygons, or I can go and change it to 26% or 27,000 polygons. And if I click the button Freeze Poly Reduce Geometry, it will now reduce this by, in this case, 75, or I guess it's 74% in terms of reducing my polygon count. That's significant. All of a sudden now, this object is not as much of an issue. And if I look at this in 3D, it is going to show me there's also not much of a difference between these two objects visually. So this is a chair. Obviously, this is not a tree. But the reason why I'm showing you this is that, if you can imagine you've got a tree or a plant, you're going to have the same thing, right? I bring that in. It's 100,000 polygons, like one of those ones I just showed you. I open it up using this tool versus just bringing it in natively into Archicad. And then I can control that polygon count for those leaves, the trunks, etc. That's a really big thing to help me reduce some of that high polygon count that oftentimes your trees and plants will have when you bring them into Archicad. So that is our tip.